Megumi is interesting due to his complete lack of melee attacks. Instead, he utilizes the 10 Shadows technique to keep opponents at an ideal distance. Megumi is a rare zoner character, a remarkably underused archetype inside the general battleground genre. Due to Megumi's high damage moveset, he is balanced out by joining Yuji in the 85 health category, allowing him to be killed much faster than others. Megumi is probably Jujutsu Shenanigans' most hated character. He is usually called too easy or a spammy character. However, I'd argue this hate largely stems from a player's lack of knowledge on how to fight a character that isn't a simple grappler. Megumi has an interesting special that is more complex than it may initially appear. Lurking Shadow turns Megumi into a shadow on the floor and about doubles his movement speed for about 1.7 seconds. While in the shadow state, you can be attacked and you cannot fight back, with one exception we'll get to shortly. The shadow state is helpful for sneaking behind opponents' blocks or a great general mix-up option. Use this in combination with pressing special again to cancel the shadow early and really catch your enemies off guard. The last thing this special can do is store items and throwables. By holding any of the in-game items or throwables and using the special, the item will be stored inside. Pressing M1 while inside the special with a stored item will bring the item back out to be used. This can be incredibly helpful in many ways. You could hide a soda and drink it to heal mid-fight, hide a gun and simply shoot your enemies when they don't expect it, or just grab a trash can to throw it at them later. Be warned that if you have anything stored, you will not be able to use Lurking Shadow while holding another item unless the stored one is taken out. The first of Megumi's moves is a silly looking one. Rabbit Escape swarms the enemy with many rabbits, causing minor stun and minor damage. The best use of Rabbit Escape is as a suppressor. Megumi can use it to pressure enemies and make openings to dash behind, or land other attacks. All of the rabbits have separate hitboxes and can be 360 blocked at any point, so it really is best to either ragdoll your enemy first, or use the rabbits as a shield. Despite its appearance and the laws of physics, the rabbits will follow any enemy they were activated on until the move runs out. That includes directly into the sky, through a wall, or straight into the void. If Megumi receives any damage during the duration of this move, the rabbits will instantly stop being summoned and the entire move will be cancelled. Rabbit Escape is the exception I mentioned earlier about not being able to attack inside Lurking Shadow. By using Rabbit Escape inside the Shadow state, Megumi jumps out with a massive pile of bunnies. This will launch anyone unlucky enough to be above Megumi directly up and will end the Shadow state immediately. Nue is Megumi's second move. It summons a massive bird, named Nue after a popular yokai, to swoop down in an arch in the direction Megumi is facing. The move has some level of homing with a small lock-on to the left, right, and behind, and a far range in the front. If an enemy is hit by Nue, they will be shocked, ragdolled, and flung. Nue will be disabled during the duration of Rabbit Escape to prevent using it as a guaranteed block break, so just be careful of that. If the special is used as Nue is summoned on a target, Megumi will grab Nue's leg and land near where the enemy gets ragdolled. This is a kind of situational yet still helpful mobility option. This variant will put Lurking Shadow on cooldown, but it can be activated while Lurking Shadow is on cooldown. Megumi's third move is Toad, best move name in the game. Toad needs a target to activate. Upon summon, a little purple ring will show around the target before they get yanked directly into the Toad and dropped for a combo extension. This move is interesting for being one of the only moves in the game that continues even if the user is ragdolled. This can make it yet another great mix-up option to catch your opponents off guard. Please don't use Toad after 4M1s, as it is blockable and very untrue. It should be used after a down slam or an uppercut. Be careful with who you target, as opponents can be targeted through surfaces, but may not be properly brought close enough to you due to collisions. By pressing Nue as Toad is summoned, it will instead summon a ton of small winged toads to grab the enemy and fling them high into the sky. This will only put Toad on cooldown, and if paired with Nue, can be a great option to get enemies far away from you. Divine Dog is a very powerful setup and bait move. It's a use 4 times range slash move. The first press summons a Divine Dog. The next 3 presses all cause the dog to leap forward and slash the enemy, causing ragdolled knockback. Like most of Megumi's other moves, the dog auto-locks onto the nearest enemy in a very similar fashion to Rabbit Escape. Divine Dog will always be attached to Megumi's right side and will stay present until all 3 slashes are used or until Megumi is ragdolled. The best use of this move is to finish combo chains or to apply unexpected pressure to the enemy. If the dog's attack lands, then it can be immediately reused to juggle the enemy. Starting with an uppercut allows all 3 to land with no escape a bit more consistently. If the dog's attack is blocked, Divine Dog will go into stun and not be usable for a very brief time. The dog allows for other moves to be used like Rabbit Escape, meaning Megumi can do other things during the slashes. Megumi's uniqueness is his greatest strength and weakness. His methods to keep an enemy exactly where he wants them to be are incredible, but he can easily be avoided by an experienced player or an aggressive rushdown hybrid character like Akari. An inexperienced Megumi is a spammer who can get lucky against a weak opponent. An experienced Megumi is something everyone fears. I'm just gonna put this here because I don't know where else to put it, but oh my word, the hate you get for playing Megumi in ranked is insane. Just look at this. At no point I do anything other than regular zoner combos. This game's community confuses me. This first combo uses many down slams to control the enemy. Begin with Divine Dog summoned. Start with 3 M1s and down slam into Frog. Do 3 more M1s into another down slam. Activate Rabbit Escape and aim all 3 slashes of Divine Dog. Quickly look towards the enemy and use Nue plus Special to close the gap, or possibly hit them with Nue for a little extra damage. The second one is a powerful guaranteed all moves combo if the opponent has wasted their Ragdoll cancel. Start with Divine Dog summoned again, land 3 M1s, uppercut, Toad, 3 M1s, down slam, use Nue first and then use Rabbit Escape, then use all 3 dog slashes quickly. Finally, we have a block-breaking mix-up combo. Make sure you have any throwable item in your Shadow Realm like a trash can or a chair first. Start with Divine Dog summoned as usual. Activate Rabbit Escape on the blocking enemy to apply pressure, then quickly pull the stored item out of the shadow state. Throw it to break the block, use Toad, 3 M1s, uppercut, then use Divine Dog once or twice, activate Nue, and finish off the dog moves. In this match, I am 1 stock ahead against a Todo player, who could be a really hard counter to Megumi if played properly. I whiff my M1 chain, but go unpunished. Todo attempts a swift kick, but I dodge with a Nue special to get behind him. I summon Divine Dog and side dash into an M1 chain. I uppercut Todo into 3 well-aimed dog slashes, lining him up perfectly to be dragged right back to me with Toad. I do more M1s into a down slam, but he ragdoll cancels after the slam. However, I react fast enough and send Rabbit Escape as I dash in, causing confusion. I'm able to land more M1s and another down slam because of this. I wait for him to get up and I attempt to use my special to outmaneuver him. This doesn't really work and he simply backdashes away. I dash back in and he attempts a punish, but I get behind him fast enough to knock him over. I once again am able to dash behind him and down slam, and break his block with Nue, allowing just enough stun to use Toad and combo extend. The battle is then ended with an uppercut and a slash of Divine Dog. I hope that this segment, more than anything, has shown how Megumi can be an interesting character beyond sending an entire zoo at your enemies and hoping something bites them. Megumi being more than just a simple grappler makes him such an entertaining character to me, and I hope this can help you see why.
何秒気を失ってた。玉剣は破壊。いや、術式が解けたか。ここまでだな。フルベゆらゆら。
宝の持ち腐れだな。
やめだ。
Megumi's Awakening is more focused on mix-up potential with a wide variety of move types. It has the interesting ability to swap back to the base moveset by pressing G. This has no ult cost or cooldown, and the moves have separate cooldowns to their base counterparts, allowing for insane combo potential. The first of Megumi's ult moves is Max Elephant. Max Elephant is a very janky, aimable elephant. Holding the move shows a red circle where the elephant should drop. Just kind of misses sometimes though. Upon releasing the move, the elephant will fall from the sky and continue falling until it lands on indestructible ground. It crushes anyone in its falling path and hits through pretty much anything. Great Serpent is the second Awakening move. Megumi leaps forward and summons a snake that becomes a controllable flying grab. Running into any opponent will snatch them into the snake's mouth and deal poison damage to them over time. If nobody is grabbed within about 2 seconds of being the snake, then it will end immediately. If an enemy is grabbed, the snake will remain for about 5 seconds, including the time before an enemy was grabbed. If more than one person is grabbed, then roughly 1 second will be added per extra player, capping off at about 6 extra seconds. At least I think that's how it works, it's kinda weird. The poison does a ticking damage amount for about 10 seconds with 1 tick every second. The poison cannot kill anyone, but the initial snake bite can. The snake itself is invincible, but if Megumi is hit during the starting leap, the move will be cancelled. Shadow Swarm is the final regular move in Megumi's Awakening. Upon startup, Megumi summons 2 clones of himself to the left and right before charging forward at a fast speed. Running into anyone with specifically your body and not the clones causes a beatdown move ending with a horizontal launch. This move is pretty straightforward and pairs well with the base moveset switching special. Chimera Shadow Garden is a sort of secret variant to Shadow Swarm. It is an incredibly situational and largely unhelpful move that allows Megumi to go inside enemy domains. To activate this move, use Shadow Swarm while standing on the edge of a domain. Megumi will create a shadow in the side side and step through. As long as the Shadow Garden is open, Megumi cannot move, and takes about 4 damage per second until the invaded domain ends, the Megumi is hit, or Megumi dies. While the garden is active, anyone outside the domain can enter through it, anyone inside can leave through it, and the sure hit effect of every domain is nullified. The domain effect instantly starts again if the garden ends. The following domain effects are cancelled by Shadow Garden. Players regain mobility inside of Infinite Void. Malevolent Shrine slashes no longer deal any damage. Idle Death Gamble continues as normal, however the Hikari who created the domain can leave and ludicrously keep rolling for a jackpot while outside of his own domain. Embodiment of Self-Perfection no longer transfigures anyone. And Deadly Sentencing continues as usual. However, if everyone else besides Megumi and Higuruma leave, then Megumi will now be the one on trial. I'm not currently going to explain Yuta's domain, as Yuta is unfinished at the time of making this and is subject to many changes.
I'm a winner. Pay the front line, take the don'ts.
The glory of Megumi's awakening is the freedom that comes with it. Knowing how and when to switch between movesets makes this ultimate the true meaning of combo freedom. There are virtually infinite combos available with this moveset, but here are 3 that I like. This first combo, like all the others, does devastating damage. Start with 3M1s, down slam, max elephant. Side dash and quickly use snake. Switch movesets and use toad, 3M1s, down slam, rabbit escape, and then mash divine dog. The second combo is just as good as the first one. 3M1s, down slam, max elephant. Switch movesets and use toad. 3 more M1s, down slam, rabbit escape, switch movesets, shadow swarm. Potentially follow up with Nue if the enemy lands nearby. In this example, I've just taken the game to a last stock round by activating my ult. I drop a max elephant and land a down slam. I use rabbit escape, but it just kind of evaporates. I summon divine dog and attempt to continue the dropped combo, but I fail and get caught in a toad. He lands some M1s on me and uses rabbit escape, but I ragdoll cancel and use shadow swarm before he can react. I drag him back with toad and land a down slam into snake. He attempts to outrun the snake, but to no avail. My rabbit escape evaporates again for some reason. We both press Nue at the same time, and I survive with just a little more health than him, winning the match. To wrap up the ult segment, here's one final combo that deals the most damage by far. Start with 3M1s, down slam, max elephant. Switch movesets, rabbit escape. Use toad, 3M1s, down slam. Switch movesets again, use snake, and fly up and forward. Look at the enemy as they fall, and activate move 4.
儀式を俺を巻き込んで2人で強制的に始めやがったやつかの剣異界新書マコラ後でなおい悪いいたとりおいクソ野郎先に行くせいぜい頑張れ待ってふざけんなよこんなクソ起きろよクソ術者
Megumi's fourth ult move is a mode change. By looking towards an enemy and activating the move, 40% of the ult meter will be consumed, and Megumi will assume a summoning stance. If Megumi is not hit within about 3 seconds, Mahoraga will be summoned in a short, invulnerable cutscene. Megumi will be killed on the spot, and you will now control Mahoraga. Alright, here we go. This is basically an entirely new character. Mahoraga is a hybrid tank, having a ton of health and a variety of moves. Mahoraga works differently from every other character in the game, existing on a refillable timer along with the regular health system. The remaining ult meter you had as Megumi is transferred into Mahoraga's ritual meter. This meter can be refilled by M1s and some abilities. If the meter reaches 0, Mahoraga's health will rapidly start draining until death. Speaking of health, Mahoraga has a whopping 150 of it, making it the tankiest character in the entire game. It honestly makes it a pretty valid strategy to defeat Mahoraga by just keeping distance and waiting for its meter to drain. Mahoraga, like Megumi, has two specials. Pressing G cycles through the adaptation modes you can select. Pressing R changes your mode to the one you've selected with G. The different adaptation modes have minor differences and also cycle out the fourth move. We'll get to that shortly. Mahoraga also contains a second passive, the Sword of Extermination. All of Mahoraga's M1s will break terrain, the fourth M1 has no end lag, and the final two M1s are unblockable. All of this comes at the cost of way slower M1s. Another pseudo-passive to Mahoraga is its size. Mahoraga is much larger than the average character, and thus can be hit much easier because of that. Due to the larger size, Mahoraga also has further reaching M1s, much higher wall jumps, a stronger uppercut, and a significantly faster run speed. Hopefully that info dump was understandable, but I promise once you play Mahoraga, it's all not that complicated. Finally getting to Mahoraga's first move, Divine Pummel is a simple grab move. Upon landing the arm swipe, Mahoraga grabs the enemy and slams them back and forth 2 times before throwing them forward. The move does bypass ragdoll, but due to Mahoraga's size and knockback buff, you can't really land the grab out of down slam or uppercut. Ground Pitch is a debris projectile. Once used, Mahoraga will grab a chunk of the breakable debris around it. The more debris, the bigger the projectile. The ball will be thrown in the direction Mahoraga is facing in a small arc. If an enemy is caught in the gathered debris on startup, they will be thrown with the debris chunk and take a bit more damage. The ball can't be aimed up or down, however sometimes Mahoraga faces up or down due to collisions, causing the ball to be thrown in that direction. Earthquake is a hold to time move. Mahoraga stabs its sword into the ground and causes a small blockable area of effect. But if the move is held, a box will close in on screen. Releasing the move as the boxes line up causes a much larger, unblockable earthquake. That also launches the enemies upwards and deals double the damage. Finally, Mahoraga has 3 options for move forward, depending on the selected mode. Be aware that even though these 3 moves have different cooldown times, the slot shares the cooldowns. First up is the Red Sword, Attack Mode. Attack Mode does nothing other than have Takedown as the 4th move. Using Takedown causes Mahoraga to teleport forward at incredible speed and punch the opponent, launching them away. This move requires a target and has a decently far range. However, do be careful as using it at max distance will still activate the dash, but the punch will miss, allowing for an easy punish. Despite being a teleport, it does get stuck on terrain, so make sure to have a clean line of sight. The cooldown is slightly reduced if the move is landed, so try not to miss. By swapping your mode to the Green Shield, Defense Mode, you gain one of the more interesting moves, Adaptation. By using Adaptation, a short parry animation plays. Please note you will still be hit by the attack even if you counter it. Depending on what is parried, Mahoraga will adapt to its damage type. The damage types are as follows: melee attacks, bullets, explosions, swarms, and domains. By adapting to any of these types, Mahoraga will gain a damage reduction, stacking 1 time for each adaptation, capping out at 4. Using it a 5th time on the same type has no effect. Adapting to a different type than the one that it's currently adapted to will overwrite the adaptation as the new one. For example, if you have max melee attack adaptation, adapting to a bullet resets your melee reduction. This move has a different interaction with Infinite Void. Instead of treating it as a domain type, it simply adapts to the Void specifically. This is only needed to be done once and does not carry over between Infinite Voids. Since this doesn't count as a regular adaptation, it also does not override your previous adaptation. The most helpful part about adaptation is the fact that it stays in other modes. If you get a 70% melee reduction and swap back to attack mode, you keep the reduction. Like Takedown, this also has a longer cooldown if missed. The other aspect of defense mode is Mahoraga's M1s being replaced by a reflect. Instead of punching, Mahoraga will very briefly shield itself, negating all damage and reflecting any projectile. The final and third mode Mahoraga can switch to is the Blue Star, Special Mode. Special Mode has regular M1s like Attack Mode and changes the 4th move to World Cutting Slash. The slash functions similar to Sukuna's, but no chanting is required. The startup leaves Mahoraga very vulnerable, so it is recommended to use from a distance. Once fired, the slash travels a medium range, further than Sukuna's, and goes through absolutely everything, dealing good damage to anyone in the way. Its hitbox is a lot shorter and thinner than the VFX seam, so sometimes it misses when it looks like it should have hit.
Pay the front line, take the don'ts.
Mahoraga is interesting in the fact that you likely are going to be getting jumped by too many people to properly combo, and you'll usually find yourself simply using whatever works best in your current situation of a 1v5. However, on the rare chance you do land a full combo, here are 2 very strong options. The first of the 2 is an attack mode combo. 3 M1s, Divine Pummel, hold Earthquake. Wait for the enemy to land, close up ground pitch, and then follow up with Takedown. Next up, we have a special mode combo. 3 M1s, down slam, hold Earthquake, catch them mid-air with Divine Pummel, ground pitch, World Cutting Slash. Both of these combos can be done in either attack or special mode, so choose which one suits the situation best. This combat demo starts with me 2 stocks up and landing an elephant into a Mahoraga. As soon as the ritual is over, I catch him off guard with a takedown. He uses his ragdoll cancel and cancels my earthquake, allowing him to land some moves. I block his blue and land some M1s into a divine pummel, then throw him with ground pitch. I barely miss another takedown and he dashes away. However, I surprise him by dashing sideways and ending the match with a timed earthquake. As I've already stated what feels like a dozen times in this video, I really do believe Megumi is the most misunderstood character in this game. Zoner characters are typically disliked by many fighting game players, even outside just the Roblox space, but at least in this case I feel it comes from a lack of proper knowledge. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you on the next episode of Learning Shenanigans.